The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged.
Engaged. Hey, that was Lunch Bucket Joe in the Rose Garden at the White House yesterday. He's never been happier. Nobody's seen him this chipper in years. He seemed almost coherent. Almost. Hang on a minute now. Yes, Jimi Hendrix is celebrating today. Jimi Hendrix supported U.S. intervention in Vietnam to fight against the communists. And actually served for a brief period of time in the United States Army. Probably wasn't a good fit. But that's not important now. The Democrats are at it again. I'm going to bet $1 right now that the Democrats are sending racist text messages to black people around America. The FBI is investigating. This should take, they should have it wrapped up before lunchtime today. If the FBI is interested in cracking this case. National Panhandler Radio with the headline, Racist Text Messages Target Young African Americans Post-Election. That's the headline at National Panhandler Radio. How would they know that they're targeting young, they know their age. African Americans, they know their race. Post-election, I know why they would know it's post-election. That was in the news and everything. The New York Times, wave of racist texts after election prompts FBI scrutiny. That's the big headline and all of them have the FBI seal, a picture of the FBI seal. A National Panhandler Radio, the New York Times, the Associated Press, racist text messages referencing slavery raise alarms in multiple states, and prompt investigations. There are multiple investigations because CNN has the story. Racist text about slaves and, quote, picking cotton, end quote, condemned by NAACP. I would think so. You know, that's kind of their job. As state AGs, that's attorneys general, colleges and police probe their origins. They love probing things, don't they? Usually they bring their own lube for the things. And the Alabama Reflector, black students at University of Alabama targeted by racist text messages. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a radical left-wing group that has more ties to terror attacks than just about any organization in the country. The Southern Poverty Law Center also says fraternity at Alabama State University received the messages. Now, wait a minute. How would anyone know to text this phone number and you know that it's an African-American college student? Oh, I know, because the Democrat Party put together these lists to get out the vote. And the Democrat Party has the door knockers and it's like knocking on doors. It's not door knocker. That's a different thing. And the National Panhandler Radio people, racist text messages target young African Americans post-election. That's something. Black college students and high school students. Are high school students old enough to vote? Because that's why would they be on these lists? And high school students report receiving racist text messages about being selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. See, this is the Democrat Party's sense of humor. Oh, now the Republicans have won. Hitler, fascist, Nazis, and now keep in mind, the Democrat Party is the party of Jefferson Davis and the Confederate States of America. The Democrat Party fired on Fort Sumter and started the Civil War. The Democrat Party gave us 3/5 of a person, and the Democrat Party is the party of slavery, the plantation, the Confederate States of America, the Civil War, followed up by Nathan Bedford Forrest, a statewide leader of the Democrat Party, creating the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan and creating Jim Crow. You know, there never was anybody named Jim Crow. They're just Jim Crow laws, and every single Jim Crow law was a Democrat law. Federal, state, and local authorities are investigating the offensive messages that have been sent over the last 2 days. since Trump won the election. And who do you think any Republican anywhere is going to say, hey, now's the time to get a list of African-American voters and students and even high school students? Who's got that list, though? The Democrat Party has that list. That's what they do. They're the racists in the discussion. And so the FBI should, it's too late for a pre-dawn raid. They could still do a pre-dawn raid if they're on the West Coast, though. It's sick and it's wrong, says St. Louis Mayor, what's her name? Tishora Jones. Her 17-year-old son, a high school student, received the text Wednesday night. The text. It's the text saying, you've been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. This awful message that children around the country have been receiving about turning them into slaves and picking them up in unmarked brown van. I was furious, said the mayor of St. Louis. Well, let's find out who it is, because I got $1. All my money's on Democrats. This is the Democrat machine right here. This is their hate machine, their racial division machine. It's what they're all about. This is the Democrat Party on parade right here. Amazing, amazing stuff. Now, her father, the student's grandfather, whose name is Virvus Jones, posted the message on social media, says it's no joking matter to hearken back to something as horrible as slavery. You think? Maybe the Democrats shouldn't have had it and been such champions of it in the first place. Now, they say you're going to pick you up and you're going to be picking cotton and just amazing stuff. What it says about this country. See, this is what Democrats do immediately. They indict the entire country because one studio apartment full of Democrats in El Segundo, California, send these things out with the Democrat phone lists. I was getting text messages even last week from the Kamala Harris campaign, the Harris-Wells campaign, asking me if I would come in and make phone calls for them to get out the vote. And they'd give me a list of phone numbers to call of Democrats that they wanted to come out to vote. And since I live in Washington, D.C., there's a 90-something percent probability that I'm one of them. So they just text any 202 number and say, hey, come in and make phone calls for us because we assume you're on our side, right? But that's good stuff. So what it says about this country is that there are a lot of people who would like to take us back to some form of slavery, some form of being subservient to white supremacy. See, this is how you know it's all the Democrats. These are all the Democrat Party talking points. And the Democrats started this fire, just like they started that fire in California that's burning people out of house and home. Amazing stuff. The Jones family is reporting the message, which appeared to come from a local phone number to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. These are some twisted individuals to target children like this. Honestly, where do you think this phone list comes from? You guys. And the FBI will get to it, and in 3 years they'll come up with something, and they'll probably blame Russia. But, they could crack the code today. Whenever I get a text message, I see the phone number it came from. And I say, hey, look at that. You can hit dial back. If you get the text, hit the people that text you and call them. And say, hey, why'd you send this text message, you Democrat? Man, oh, man. This is alarming, both because there is no indication who the text is from. It's from the Democrats. But because all the people who received it were young African Americans. Who's got that list? What do you think? I know what's going on here. I cracked the code on this one. This is like the Juicy Smollett mystery. Cracked that one immediately, too. Or the Felonious 51 on the information operation that penitentiary face Brennan ran against the American people, tampering in our presidential election in 2020. Cracked that one right away, too, didn't I? Yes, I did. Crazy, man. Crazy. All right, now, the Democrats, they're out there, and they're still racially. Now, and I mentioned this just a little bit earlier. The Democrats have changed up their rhetoric a bit. The Hitler fascist thing. Now, we got Joe Biden. Joe Biden was at the White House yesterday. And he was, let's go to Joe Biden, because he's demonizing Trump as Hitler and a fascist and a threat to democracy. You remember his speech from hell in Philadelphia with the red light behind him on Independence Hall with the Marines back there. Inappropriate political speech, all that. And the after-school Satan Club did the lighting there. And Trump's the bad guy. He's the villain. He's Hitler. He's going to destroy democracy. And then yesterday, Joe Biden was like, hey, I'm going to make sure we've got a great transfer of power from me to Donald Trump. It's going to be great, isn't it? It's going to be wonderful. So let's see, where are those at? And Joe Biden yesterday, just amazing stuff. Joe Biden in the Rose Garden of the White House gave a very happy speech. And everybody was White House staff people in the folded white chairs in the Rose Garden there. And they're all very happy. And Joe Biden this guy hasn't been this happy since he became president.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
Woo! Democrats say woo a lot.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Please, sit down and take a shower with me. Pretty strange stuff. And then he's happy, he's smiling. He looked bright-eyed. He looked bushy-tailed. And he sounded like Donald Trump was his good buddy.
Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him.
No clapping?
That I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
Yeah, and nobody clapped at that. Well, I guess they're planning on undermining everything because they're a little different. Joe Biden, then he likes this line, and yeah, blah, blah, blah.
I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor.
Nobody's clapping.
Only when you agree.
No clapping.
Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature.
Wow, maybe you should have done this a year ago. Maybe you should have done this 3 years ago. Maybe you Nazi, Hitler, fascist, communist, what else is he? All these things. These are all the words that he's been using to describe Donald Trump and half the country. Now it's as though that never happened. That's just water under the bridge. That's the rearview mirror. He's forgotten all about that, and in fact, he probably has forgotten all about that because he's Joe Biden. And boy, isn't America great? And we're going to go ahead into a bright American future.
The American experiment endures.
With Hitler.
We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged.
But we need to stay engaged. I think that's a good idea. Then actually, he had this funny line. Well, yeah, let's play it, because he's, being defeated doesn't mean you've been defeated.
Look, folks, you all know it.
They use the words.
Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable.
What?
We all get knocked down.
Say that again.
But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up.
Turns out he didn't have a dad.
Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated.
No, actually, that's what that word means. That's exactly what that. But wait a minute. How can you be so gracious at long last and so cheerful and so chipper that Kamala lost? I don't think he voted for Kamala. I think he voted for RFK Jr. or for, Green Party or something. But now, how can he be so casual and sanguine when he's handing the reins over to Hitler?
Trump began his 2024 campaign by glorifying the failed violent insurrection on our Capitol. The guy who claims law and order sows lawlessness and disorder. Trump's not concerned about your future, I promise you. Trump is now promising a full-scale campaign of revenge and retribution, his words, for some years to come.
Some years to come now, but now Joe Biden's okay with that campaign of revenge for some years to come, and the fascists and the destroyer of democracy.
He talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany.
Ah, the old Nazi Germany reference. Yeah. So, but why are you so casual about passing the torch to Nazi Germany? What's the matter with you? And the red wall, the red light, the speech from hell where Donald Trump's going to destroy democracy. And now I think what he's revealing is that he never believed any of this stuff. It was all a huge lie. He was lying to everybody.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation.
Yay, he's a threat to the nation. They love that he's a threat to the nation because, you know, Hitler and fascism and destroyer of worlds. Just amazing stuff. And then yesterday, he's like, oh, yeah, I can't wait. We're going to have a transfer of power, and it's going to be real good. And sure, you can't win them all, but wait a minute. You said it was fascism and destroyer of worlds and democracy and all this.
I believe that the president is literally an existential threat to America.
He's an existential threat to America, but now I'm going to give him the keys to the White House, no problem, and I'm going to go to the beach. That's not a thing. This is all the proof that you need if you're new to this, that these people are the biggest liars on the face of the earth, that they've been lying and lying and lying with every breath they take for years. They don't believe any of the things that they've told you. They just want to sow division and hostility in families, in households, in schools, on street corners, in restaurants. They've done a pretty good job of that. That's about all they've done a good job with.
And I'll be damned if I can let Donald Trump turn America into a place filled with anger and resentment and hate.
I got my Washington Post today, and I got my Washington Times today. One of them is a real newspaper, and it's not the Washington Post. But the Washington Post, on their front page, they got a picture of Joe Biden wandering off with the columns, the White House, going to the Rose Garden, got his Ray-Ban aviators in his hand. I suspect that Ray-Ban or Bausch & Lomb have been, the parent company of Ray-Ban, have been paying the Biden family to wear these sunglasses, or they're going to have a deal as soon as they leave because it's been too flagrant this whole time. But the front page of the Washington Post today, Trump makes his first key hire. Top advisor Wiles for chief of staff. It's interesting. They don't mention in the headline or even in the lead that it's the first woman ever to be chosen as White House chief of staff. How did that not make it into the Identity Politics Washington Post? Isn't that amazing? Because, it's because they're filth and they're propagandists. Isn't that amazing? And the headline talking about what I was just talking about, Biden welcomes to power a man he deemed a threat. He welcomes to power a man that he deemed a threat to democracy. He's Hitler. He's a fascist. He's got to be stopped. He's going to destroy the world. And then he says, oh, what the heck? Here are the keys. Welcome aboard. And GOP set for quick work on trillions in tax cuts.
Trump is even more dangerous now. No, I'm serious. He's unhinged.
No, I'm serious.
He snapped. He says if he loses, there will be a bloodbath. Trump said if he wins, he'll be a dictator on day one. He means it, folks. We're not going to let that happen. Over my dead body will happen.
Sadly, Joe Biden just died. Very sad. And they're hoping that Sotomayor will die, too. He didn't just die. He didn't really just die. I'm only just over his dead body. And he pulled out the old dictator on day one, which was a laugh line that President Trump used at a Sean Hannity-hosted town hall. Says, yeah, I'll be a dictator on day one, and we'll, drill, baby, drill, and secure the border. And that's it. Then I'll go back to being normal. And everybody laughed. But the Democrats are still going around pimping that because they are a rolling house of ill repute. And I've got to say, I think what's happening across America is millions of people are waking up to the big lie that is the Democrat Party. And I do refer to it deliberately as the big lie, as the Nazi propagandist Joseph Goebbels, or Goergel, as the Reverend Al Charlatan prefers to be sure. It is the big lie. The Democrat Party is the left, and the big lie is alive in the United States of America big time. Just amazing. And then yesterday, Joe Biden was in the Rose Garden saying, oh, yes, my friend, practically, Donald Trump, he's going to become president. We're going to do everything we can to. And also the Democrats now the drum beats are going to get Sonia Sotomayor to resign from the Supreme Court and step down so that they think Joe Biden will be able to replace her in the time that they have remaining. I don't believe that would be possible, but there could be some funny stuff here. Apparently, Sonia Sotomayor, she's 70 years old, which is not necessarily that old for a Supreme Court justice. It's a lifetime appointment. But the Democrats are in a panic right now, and they're thinking, oh, no, Trump's going to be president for 4 more years. Sonia Sotomayor is real old, and she's in poor health. It turns out she's 70 years old. She's 70 years old. Some people at 70 are in great and wonderful shape. Sonia Sotomayor, of course, looks like a retired middleweight boxer and doesn't look to be the picture of health, the model of health. But maybe she is. You can't tell from a distance. And the Democrats are really pushing hard to have her step down so that they think they can rush through a new appointment to the Supreme Court of someone much younger and radical and leftist and anti-American that they could put in there that would be there for 50 years. And in fact, now they're talking about, ironically, the left-wing lunatics at CNN putting Kamala Harris on the Supreme Court, and she's 60. So she just turned 60 years old recently, and so she's only 10 years younger than Sonia. So they just come up with one bad idea after another, and these lunatics at CNN figure that this will make everybody really angry, and they think that's good because they're nuts. But before we get to that, I just talked about practically every part of it, I guess. But you know what? Since we're talking about it now, Michael, I apologize to whipsaw you like this. But then I want to get to the White House briefing yesterday, which was filled with entertaining moments as well. But on CNN this morning, which is another house of ill repute, it's just extraordinary. And nobody watches them, and they're awful, and they're terrible, and they're big liars. And I worked there for a long time, and it's a stain on my record, on my history, on my resume, having worked at CNN for as long as I did. It was better then, but still, and I had a great time. I did have a great time. And I told the truth, but then I had to leave because I wanted to keep telling the truth. Isn't that amazing? But this morning on CNN, they had this radical extremist racist named Bakari Sellers on. And he was talking to John Berman, who is they're both Democrat shills and nothing more, and posing as the whatever. John Berman posing as a journalist and anchorman. Bakari Sellers posing as a thinking person. And that's a fraud, too. But listen to this hoo-ha that they're ginning up over at CNN. They want 70-year-old Sonia Sotomayor to step down and be replaced with 60-year-old Kamala Harris, who was the Attorney General of the state of California, but for all the wrong reasons. Not aware that she ever held a judgeship of any kind, but right to the Supreme Court. I think I should go to the Supreme Court. I'll go to law school after I get there. But I'd be real good at being a Supreme Court justice. I'd have to, go to college and then go to law school. But that'd be fine. I could do that. That's not a thing. So here's what it sounded like on CNN this morning when they were conspiring out in the open to overthrow Sonia Sotomayor, 70-year-old Supreme Court justice, and get rid of her because they're terrified that Donald Trump will get 3 more picks on the Supreme Court in 4 years. And Bakari Sellers is ignorant and wrong about everything, but it sounded like this.
Justice Sotomayor has been a more than able justice. I know that she may be having some personal issues that she contends with while serving on the bench. But, I don't want Justice Sotomayor to be another Ruth Bader Ginsburg in terms of staying too long. So I hope that Joe Biden makes the next 10 weeks as consequential as he can.
Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they worshipped her like she was a religious figure. But she stayed too long, and she was replaced by Donald Trump. And the Democrats are furious with her post-mortem, and they're fine with that, being furious and turning on her after she died. And everybody, liked Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a person, and there are all kinds of interesting relationships between Ruth Bader Ginsburg and conservatives on the Supreme Court, and people but she died, and the Democrats said, well, she betrayed us, and they literally say stuff like this, by not retiring in time for Barack Obama to replace her, and they thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win because Ruth Bader Ginsburg might have believed all the New York Times reporting and the CNN reporting, which was all completely wrong, of course. And Bakari Sellers says, yeah, okay, you've had your time on the Supreme Court. It's time for you to go because the Democrat Party has business to get to, and, I don't know, abortion or something.
I don't care about drawing outside the lines or what Republicans may think about it. This is within your purview. You can actually do it, and you
Republicans
should do it.
May think.
One more thing, John, is you have a hell of a vice president right there who has a legal pedigree to sit on the Supreme Court, and let Republicans go crazy and ape. I'm even mentioning that option.
It's just the hatred of these mental cases. I don't care what Republicans think about it, and let the Republicans go crazy. You are mentally impaired. You've got really serious issues. You need therapy. I've got to say, Donald Trump's win, I was talking about this on my Newsmax TV show last night, is a really big win for psychiatry in America. Psychiatrists have never seen better days than this because the Democrats, I told you that I know two men who have told me in the last 2 days that they have their wives on suicide watch because they're so traumatized by Donald Trump winning that they just don't know what to do. And perhaps the first thing that Donald Trump did was appoint the first woman to be the White House chief of staff in the history of the United States of America. And next, just amazing. So Bakari Sellers and John Berman on CNN.
Are you floating? This is 7:39 a.m. on the East Coast. Did Bakari Sellers just float Vice President Kamala Harris as a potential Supreme Court nominee?
Not only am I floating it, but I want to stir up everything. I want people's heads to explode this morning so we go into the weekend just knowing that the chaos has not ended just yet.
He wants chaos. He wants heads to explode. They're fascists. They're communists. They're destroyers of countries. You give them power and they will abuse it before the sun goes down, just like the crooked Letitia James, Attorney General of the state of New York, who has already announced that she's going to abuse her power to attack her political enemy, which is what fascists do. And it's weren't they just accusing Trump? Oh, he's going to use the legal system and the government against his political enemies. They're announcing out loud that they're going to use their political positions against their political enemies and against the just reelected president of the United States of America. While, again, it's the old Soviet playbook, the Russian playbook. Whatever they accuse you of doing, it's what they themselves are doing in that moment. They're abusing their power, and Letitia James, Democrat, radical, extremist, criminal, abusing her power to target the political enemies of the party of slavery and abortion. The Democrat Party, the party of rioting and looting, the party of assassination, and they love it. And this Bakari Sellers wants the weekend to be ruined. He wants people's heads to explode. He wants conflict. He wants rage over Sonia Sotomayor on the Supreme Court. You people are filthy. And you heard the idiots, John Berman and whatever other inflatable idiot was there with him. They're giggling and cackling. Oh, he. Oh, good, heads explode. Conflict. We can pick a fight and insult Sonia Sotomayor, who's 70 years old, and she's a Supreme Court justice, and just amazing. And he talked about how Samuel Alito might retire from the court. I don't think he will. And how Justice Clarence Thomas might retire from the court. He's not going to retire from the court. And they lie about everything. They make up everything. They try to create division. They try to make heads explode. They create conflict. And this is what happens when they lose. Of course, Donald Trump won, and we're all laughing and having a great time. And we're going to have a wonderful weekend. I've had a great week with friends. Went out with my best girl and our friend Randy last night. We had beers at a nice neighborhood place and had a wonderful time. Just light snacks, nothing. Didn't even get entrees. Just had a nice time. And we're happy as clams And actually, a couple of people in the restaurant came over to say nice things and happy things about JD and another. It was a lot of fun, and it's been a fun week. And boy, we went into Tuesday not knowing how it was going to come out either. But we're just more mentally stable than these people. These people are sick in the head, and Bakari Sellers has got a lot of issues that he should probably sort out in private and not on CNN. But CNN is such a filthy hellhole that this is what they do. Okay, I've gone on for long enough. Let's go to, and I want to get to Jackie Heinrich and the White House briefing yesterday, too, but I haven't gone to a call in far too long, so let's go talk to the nice people. Let's go to Gene, calling from the great state of Indiana. Gene, the calling into the talk show machine.
Chris, it's an honor. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I've often thought that the Democrats have been envious of the whole MAGA thing, and that's going to draw to a conclusion at the end of Trump's presidency. So I thought we could be nice and donate all of our MAGA gear to them. And we could store it in a huge liquid tank filled with blue dye, and then when the 2028 campaign season comes around, they'll have their own form of MAGA, Make America Garbage Again.
Blue hats instead of red hats.
That's right. And you know what? Since, it's already used and all, 3 years of soaking in a solution, it's going to look kind of, rough and garbage-like. So it'll just go hand in hand.
Well, since Joe Biden called half the country garbage just the other day, just before Election Day, that's true. The Democrat version of MAGA would have to be Make America Garbage Again.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
There you go. That's Joe Biden. And then they lied to us about that, too, Gene, didn't they?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of ironic. Earlier you said be humble, which I usually am. I don't gloat or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, Chris, after all of this name-calling and in-your-face politics and lecturing, I had to go on offense a little bit. I hope you're not disappointed with me. Nothing real bad, but you've probably heard the quip, like when Mrs. Lincoln left the theater. Well, aside from that, Mrs. Lincoln, did you enjoy the play? Okay. So I said to them, well, aside from the red wave, did you enjoy your election day? So, that went over real well.
Other than that, that's perfectly legitimate, and that's polite, and that's adult. That's not mean.
That's not, too much of a thumb in the eye or anything. So.
I got a funny meme texted to me this morning by a friend. Several funny memes this morning. One of them is talking about Kamala Harris. Kamala in North Carolina, big hurricane blew through, and we learned that FEMA would give you $750, right? $750. Your house is swept away, your town is gone, your church, your school. But here's $750. So somebody posted online, she lost so bad that FEMA sent her $750, which is kind of fun. But that's, honestly, that's polite enough. These guys are mean, nasty, mean-spirited, horrible people because, they love Hitler and all that stuff. They're just crazy. Gene, I don't think that you should feel bad about that at all. I think that's very much within the lines of polite and courteous political discourse. And as you said, given the kind of rhetoric that they have made commonplace in our political discourse. Gene, thank you for the call. You be well. And that football season is heating up. You may have picked up on that. And Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while you're watching football. With more than 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all of us. The app is incredibly simple to use, easy to use. You pick two or more players across any sport, pick more or less based on their projections, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Prize Picks even invented the flex play, the coolest thing ever. You can still cash out if one of your picks doesn't hit. What? That's right. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code PLANT. That's me, Plante. And you're going to get a $50 credit instantly when you play only $5. That's the code PLANT on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get your $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for details and restrictions. Yeah. When I hear the briefing, cringe yesterday. And there's something important that I want to point out about this briefing, and it's what didn't happen. That's coming up.
I want people's heads to explode this morning so we go into the weekend just knowing that the chaos is not ended just yet.
All right, Michael, let's go back to the telephones. How much of this will I be able to get to? He wants heads to explode. He wants chaos because he's a communist pig dog. Schweinhund. Let's go to Craig, calling from the great state of South Carolina. Craig, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, my only question, congratulations, Trump, but if we were if we're going to have chaos continue by putting her on the Supreme Court, were we ruled by chaos in the last 3.5 years?
Well,
chaos rules. That's what that man said.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting and fun point. Yeah, and they, of course, again, it's the old Russian playbook. They accuse Trump of being the agent of chaos, the one driving chaos. And you've got these Democrat politicos on CNN screaming about how they want more conflict and more chaos, and they want people at each other's throats because they're vicious, they're nasty, they're the left. They lie all the time.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives. And unfortunately, there's plenty to go around.
Ayanna Pressley is a congresswoman and a member of the Squad. And Bakari Sellers on CNN talking about, first of all, a 70-year-old woman leaving a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court so they can create chaos and put Kamala Harris in there, who's never been a judge. She was the Attorney General of California. Put a lot of people in jail for smoking pot. And, boy, I got to tell you, they're crazy people, aren't they, Craig?
Yes, sir. And God bless Donald Trump and the United States of America.
Heck yeah, and God save Donald Trump as well, because these people are still out there. The crazy people are still on the loose. Boy, the Secret Service, they've got their hands full all over the place. There's no doubt about that. And, we're going to have a great weekend. We're not looking for chaos. We're looking for, we're going to go to the Danish Christmas Bazaar. We're going to eat nice food. We're going to hang out with friends and have a great time. That's what we're going to do. But the left...